So I think parents should, aside from them taking responsibility for the children they have given to planet Earth, let them also learn to instill accountability, so that even in your absence, your child is scared to do some things. So that even in your absence, even when you come back after a long day, your child is going to account for the things they did during the day. It starts with those simple and small and values that we think are really small. But these values are actually what raise these children to the responsible adults we would want them to be. And then lastly, I would talk about the freedom of access. When I saw this topic yesterday, I had a conversation with a friend, and she said, you see, we cannot, even if we say that we want to censor information on television, even if you say that you don't want your child to watch Uncut Kalakata at that time, Uncut is recording a YouTube version, and she's still going to get it. So maybe a way forward, a solution that I don't have right now, is how do we make it possible that Uncut is showing for the audience that loves it, but even when it puts that video on YouTube, my child still doesn't access it? How do we make that possible? Yes, that's my submission.
Thank you very much for that contribution. And now, Owen, what is...
Thank you. I'll first delve into understanding a child's mind. Because to get a clear picture of all this, we must understand who kids are. And a child's mind, in my simple imagination, it's like a sponge. You soak it into water or any liquid, it absorbs anything that it comes to contact with it. And now we have media. And for screens, it's not only TV. Actually, TV now consumes around, by research, 2 hours of viewership, but other screens take more than that. Now, after understanding that a child's mind is like a sponge, now that calls for an alarm to find out how do we make sure that this sponge absorbs what is right from all these different kinds of screens. And now that will take us to a little bit of what I learned from one of the renowned professors for psychology, Jonathan Haidt. He brings a perspective of where there was a time in 90s and early 2000s where we had what we call play-based childhood. It was okay. I know some of us have seen that meme of that the legend has come back finally with a class of something like firewood on their head, or they are from playing on certain playground. It was safe for kids to play and grow knowing that playing brings in a whole different perspective as far as a holistic growth is concerned. Now comes 2000s when technology is more absorbed now for Ugandan context, because for other nations it was even before 2000s. The TV comes and it's in every homestead. Even what we'd call the poor, in quotes, they can afford at least a korinaku to watch their favorite soap, and they have a screen in there. Now TV took the stage, and we're seeing it as this new thing, fancy thing in our homes. But the beauty is that then UBC was only airing at a specific time, and until you see the curtain, then you know that at least Music Parade is coming in. And even then, music that would be shown at that time is not what is on right now. You know, we are looking at movies and uncut. Usually we see content rating on movies, but 90% of the videos you're talking about are animated content. Even our own people, 80% of the music videos they have is not anywhere. It's actually semi-nude, if I may say. And we have TVs playing this music from morning to evening. regardless of who is watching. And I know a debate that was on recently over one of our artists, I don't want to mention names, why she's nude, and she says, parents, it's your responsibility to look at these kids and monitor them. This is public conversation. Now, 2010 comes what we call the smart life. Say the smartphone, a tab, a computer, and then our parents become too busy. They have to balance work and parenting. And what do? You reach home, and when you reach home and you're busy from a bank job or wherever you are, and you want to prepare something for your spouse or for yourself, you hand over your phone to this innocent kid, and the kid gets to this smartphone on this TV, and you're saying, I don't want to be disturbed, you know. But what you're saying is, make yourself busy as I do something for myself. And someone will say it's understandable. But what you forget is, as an adult, what you look for in this phone, for example, YouTube, or TikTok, or Facebook, these platforms are designed in a way that they know your preference. So they even suggest your next video. So you might find as an adult, you love pornography, and you think it's okay with you because you can control it. But you forget in your time of saying, I don't want this kid to disturb me, get my phone, and you've put Shark Doodoo, it is going to run for 40 minutes, but what you think you can be done in 40 minutes takes 2 hours. After 40 minutes, YouTube will recommend the next video. But if you're screening and what you've been watching most is pornography, what comes straight after that Shark, trust me, it will be what you watch most of the time. And that is pornography. And do you think the kid will show you that I'm watching this? No. Kids are smart, will actually move a distance away from you so that they can watch without being disturbed. Now, when you've understood that there is a shift from a play-based childhood to what we call screen-based childhood, then you'll understand that what research shows, in fact, is that an average kid in a holiday or child spends between 7 to 9 hours on screens. If you want to put it in perspective, is that if you watch 2 movies on TV, you've already spent 2 hours, actually 4 hours on TV. And then when you put what they are doing with the phones and tabs, it goes to 8. During COVID time, it even shot 14 hours of screen time. And the worry is, there are kids who don't have a choice of what they want to see. What pleases their eyes is what they see. So when you have all these 7 hours of screen time before our kids, that brings another perspective. That by research, a girl child is more affected by social media than a boy child. And these are the reasons. There's something we call highlight reels. I think you understand. For example, what appears on social media is not what really happens in our real lives. I'll give an example. A lady takes 100 photos to choose one to post on the Instagram page. Meaning you're looking for the best out of your worst. Now, what happens is, by nature, people will love social approvals. And you want to look like a friend who has screened 100 photos and put them there. And what is trending with
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you briefly.
Please.
I will give you the floor again. The country director for UNICEF has arrived and is joining us. He's not late. We changed the time and did not communicate. No, it was our fault. We changed the time and did not communicate. You're welcome, sir. And thank you for honoring the invitation. You have found us started, but I'm sure we'll catch up. And we will definitely give you time to participate. Please continue.
Thank you so much. You're welcome to join the panel discussion. So I'm telling you that this innocent girl, and I'll throw in a story that happened 2 weeks back, like 3. There is a story of a teacher trying to, via phone, talk to a student, and it's a case of a potential case of defilement. Now, as police gets the teacher after being brought by whichever means to the house, before we know the story, the face of this young innocent girl is all over social media. Question is, who protects these minors from such acts? I even made a Twitter on X and said, UCC, who protects this young, she's a victim, a potential victim of defilement, but her photo with the face not being blurred is all over social media. And you ask yourself, someone who has survived in truth at that scenario, but is everywhere. I'm saying all this so that you know the accent is not just about what we watch, but the impact. And we're looking at this young girl, very anxious, depressed, because the comments that come, there is another generation of who don't care. The sanity is lost, that will troll, will say all kinds of things. If this young woman who has no right hand by the side say, no access to media, to smartphones, to screens at this time until this whole story is buried, what would happen to this mental health of this young girl? I'll give you another scenario of the creatives. Who has champions good? Champion good? Okay, who doesn't know maybe? There is a photo of him sick. And I don't understand. A whole face of a young potential creative is sick and is thrown to the faces of social media by the management. People have turned Champions Good's face into a meme. And as our views is on that screen, these screens are also a danger. And now we've talked on the stakeholders. As a parents, how can we balance the idea of play-based childhood and screen-based childhood? I'm not saying screens are bad fully. No, I know many kids who have thrived through this. And I will say, for parents, everyone has talked about them, I won't add. But I will tell you, even if laws are met, the few hours you have with your kids, you have the mantle to make sure you regulate them. This whole set of everyone is doing it and my kid must have a smartphone. No. If a smartphone is primarily for communication, you can buy what we call flip phones or button phones if you want to communicate to your kids. Up to a certain age, say, until you're 16, you're not getting a smartphone, period. For you. Also, are parents equipped with the knowledge and skill to make sure that they can protect their children from all this? Who has digital literacy to our parents, to our educators, to our policymakers, to our digital abilities, to know the dangers of these screens? Do we have an intent from parents to say, for example, the education sector, and the digital literacy to the curriculum? Because the shift is the age. We're not going far from these screens. But how do we actually equip educators, parents, and the community to know that if you see PG16, it means this is covered for people above 16. If DSC was here and always put in the platforms, I would say that they would also make an effort to make sure that for everyone that they put there, they also have an iron campaign that educates people on what basis these TVs on their faces. Besides playing, they're also educating. When you look at kids who spend more than 3/4 of the year at school, the question is, the educators know this impact and the effect of these screens to them. And now that's make sure that local authorities, the last one of these between nations called the Law for Rights in the Right to Legal Counsel, actually what you're talking about is that they will ask you categories of content, the others, and before you see what you have, they will give you a bill. They will give you the rates, which are also really too low for our industry. But the idea is everyone else of the money they are getting out of all this conversation. But what they really care is for what, like I say, they will postpone someone sitting 4 hours before the screen that is up for consideration. Now, in that sense, I'll give you a simple note on what is advised as far as kids' content consumption is concerned. From 0 to 2 years, it's advised that there's no screen at all. And if I ask parents here, how many parents, how many been victims of that? My kid cried so much for his phone under 2 years and I gave it to them. I'm not going to judge, but you know the sense. Yes, recommended that there's no screen time for a 0 to 2 year old child. From 2 to 5, it's recommended that once you have 1 hour, but also under supervision, you call you, so that you're watching them and you know what they're saying. And the idea is that at this age below 5, kids need more play-based kind of mentorship, but now we don't have the time, so we are putting them to the screens. And they say above 5 to 17, 2 to 3 hours of screen time is okay. But even then, there should be content control, and there should be monitoring, regulating that there is parental guidance, things like that. But my question is, and I throw it back to you, as busy as we are, as liberal as we are, as we want to be modern parents and modern society as we are, who cares for the generation before you? And I'll beg to submit that the discussion of this self-screen started from when we approached Honorable Rachel and we shared our concern for self-screen, self-kids campaign and said there must be someone to create a movement that says kids need to be saved from monsters in our sitting rooms, from monsters in our hands. But more so, bring one bit. Do actually parents and educators and policymakers know that also these screens can be a really important milestone for our kids to live. So our call as Church of Uganda Family TV is there must be a deliberate effort to save this child, but also to teach them how to thrive in a digital age. Because the idea is you're looking at parents, but you also empower these kids to know how to filter this content. This is wrong, this is right. And we grew up as kids knowing what is wrong and right. The question is, can we go back and have a discussion? For example, move to these schools. I'll give a simple action point. Collaborate with the Care Parliament, UNICEF, artists. Move to schools, create a debate. If you want to know what this impact is, simple debate. We sample 100 schools in the country, create a simple debate and say, put task these kids to actually tell us what they get out of these screens. And you will be shocked. Lastly, I'll give you a story. Sad one, but I need to tell you. Towards the end of COVID, a close friend of mine used to give these phones to the kids because everyone maybe needed space. And she knew that she had put what we call YouTube for kids, a YouTube version for kids. So the kid used to have a span of 1 hour to around 2 hours of the phone and then comes back to her. Now this time, after like 2 days, this kid started making it 3 hours, 4 hours, so she got worried. Like, as a mother, there is that instinct that comes in. It's like, what is happening? So one day, she realized that actually now the kid is not watching alone. in our setup lately, apartments, other kids started coming, which was contrary to what used to happen. So one day, out of what I would call natural instincts or God comes to her rescue, she stepped up and I was like in the second week. Tiptoes to the balcony, finds a pool of kids, around 6 of them, and what are they watching? Pornography. And this kid had consumed pornography for almost 2 weeks. I will leave that to that.
Thank you very much, Owen. Now let's have the opportunity to hear from Mr. Mohamed El Neil, the country representative of UNICEF. We are discussing safe screens, and we know your organization deals with children. What would be your introductory remarks to this challenge?
Thank you very much, and appreciate the opportunity to participate in this panel. I hope the sound is audible. And I want to look at a few points. I know a lot of very valuable has been already shared. I want to focus on a few points. The first point is that when we talk about screens, people often talk about the screens that are connected to the internet, which is important, but screens that needs to be safe are more than the screens that are connected to the internet. TVs are part of the screens. Billboards on the streets are part of the screens. Even the non-internet connected devices, including games, are part of the screens that we need to make safe. And when we talk about safety, I think we need to look also at two things. The safety of the content, whether the content is for entertainment or for education. And that brings in the printed material, where the safety of the content is very important. But the issue of the screens, especially the screens that are connected to the internet, brings an additional risk. The risk that goes beyond the content that the child is accessing, whether for entertainment or education. The risk, the additional risk of interacting with others online. Whether this interaction is intended, initiated by the child, or it is not intended, not initiated by the child, it's initiated by someone else behind the screen, someone who can mislead the child with regard to his or her age. So these are additional risks we need to look at. Definitely what is extremely important for us, I would say, when we talk about the screens in general, is making sure there is age-appropriate material. We look at the internet, you can do a lot of filtering for parents who are educated, who are quite aware of the appropriateness of the material, who can rate the material, or who can at least put some filters that allow the child to access material that is age appropriate. But what we are seeing more and more, honestly, is that the TV, which is invading every house, doesn't apply safety measures. We are seeing videos for music, for songs, where the dancing, the body movement are very inappropriate for young children. We see language in advertisements, we see language in communication on the TV, including comedy, which is not age appropriate. And we see these TV programs broadcasted randomly around the hour. And what is important, actually, and I appreciate the fact that the Parliamentarian Forum for Creative Industries is leading this, because I think the Parliament and Honorable MP Rachel has an important role of regulating the TV industry in Uganda. We need the TV industry to know that what kind of programs they can broadcast for families at a time which is appropriate for children to watch. Whether it's entertainment, whether it's advertisement. You cannot have the family sitting around lunch or dinner watching the TV and you see very inappropriate language in comedy, very inappropriate body movement associated with music and songs when children are still there. There must be a regulation, a law, and a social responsibility from the TV and these kind of screens, digital screens which are entering our homes, where they don't broadcast sensitive material which is inappropriate for children during certain hours of the day. It can only be shown after certain hours in the night. The second thing which is appropriate is also, which is practiced in many countries, and we want to see it practiced here in Uganda. By law, we want the TV channels to start, before starting any program, to tell the parents about the age appropriateness. This program includes material that doesn't fit children under this age, or it is only suitable for viewers up from this age upward. So if I'm a parent and I'm sitting watching the TV with my family, I know whether I will stay on that channel or I will have to move to another channel or to turn the TV off. This is very appropriate for us to do. I know this is not going to solve all the problems because now the TV channels are also coming through different ways of satellites that Uganda broadcasting authorities don't have authority on. But this is where the parental awareness is important, as some of the speakers mentioned. We need to make sure that there is digital literacy, digital awareness everywhere, where we know that the parents can guide their children. I want also to conclude by saying that we as parents always need also to ask ourselves, are we the right models for our children when it comes to the use of the screens? If I'm a parent and I'm accessing pornography and my child can accidentally or using their smart skills find out that I'm doing this, morally I become, I would say, very weak to advise my child to say don't do this. Even if I try to say age appropriateness or not, it's still for the child that you are doing it. So I think being the right role model as parents is also very important. For the sake of time, let me stop here and I'm happy to come back for any additional points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, yeah, thank you for clapping, yes. This brings me to another point. I think we should actually talk about safe screens and safe ears, because there is this song that was trending not so long ago, Kwepicha or something like that. Well, it is a good song, and I was in some corridors and the Prime Minister was... Now, how can we go around these challenges? I remember in the 70s, my background is music. I'm part of African band. We had a song called Ekade, an old woman. It wasn't vulgar really, and I can dare sing it here, it's not vulgar, but it was banned on Radio Uganda. Reason, it kind of offended the young girls. Not young girls, but the teens, or not the children, but you know, that class 18 to 30, young adults. It offended them because we were preferring we were singing about the preference of an old woman to an adult girl. And we were giving reasons why I, as a teenager boy, I would rather go with an old woman. You call them sugar mummies these days. I would rather go with a sugar mummy than my age mate. Yes, and we had reasons. Because that old woman, Buddha, you know, she comforts me. And it was very good lyrics, I can say, but it was offensive to the young adults, so it was banned. Now, Kwepicha is not touched. I'm not singling out. I'm just using a title. Don't get offended, the composer, because we are streaming. You may think I'm attacking you. I'm not. So, what I'm saying is, we are talking about screens, but also the ears. Parents these days take their children to a bifulu, these concerts, and the content there is really not appropriate for the children, but there we are. So the thing is wider. And when I was in UK recently, I wanted to visit a certain website. It's not a vulgar website, but I was told this website is not available in this country. That means certain websites can be blocked. So, unfortunately, UCC is not here. Who wants to take on this, what I've just said in that context? Any one of you can take it on.
I think let me risk my and take it on. Like I said before, as the theme of this symposium goes, changing the narrative, I think there is a lot that needs to to be done to change the narrative, especially from the government side. Because whatever I'm hearing about here is like blaming the parent is not doing this, parent is, but the government is responsible for the safety of the people. So now by the government, because the government is paid to look at the safety, to put safeguards for our children to like live in a safe environment. I should go back to the parliament, which is the legislative house, where the laws are made, where the laws are amended, where policies are checked. UCC, again, is the communications authority. Whatever is going to be communicated has to have a standard, has to be checked. Now, you find out that in some countries you don't do live streaming on television. But here, instead of broadcasting, they are doing live streaming. So even when somebody is like live on TV and saying a vulgar word, it's going to be broadcasted. But it's still going on. So changing where we are, to change the narrative, we need to look at things that make us better, not to take the culture trend, this is who we are. We should be some people from who we are. That's what I'm thinking. So Parliament should help us to check these institutions. First and foremost, UCC are our friends, but they need to work on things that make us better. Our industry is struggling because they are not making things better. They're supposed to, for example, I put it to this parliamentary forum to check whether there is even a performing broadcasting policy in Uganda. Broadcasting policy, for me, was we followed it up. It was like done in 2006. dilapidated now. It's like we need to do a new policy on broadcasting that puts in place measures like, that safeguards our people. When you go to the still rotates on safe screens, you go to Media Council. The country directors talked about, the country director for UNICEF talked about when a program is going to be laid on television, alertness. You alert the parent so that I safeguard my kids. But that one is done after the content was classified. And given those classification, segments which community has to view these, which age. But it's not here. It's only here when a Ugandan producer is going to premiere a film. Media Council will call and threaten where that producer is going to premiere that film, that producer should come here and get a classification certificate before he or she premieres the film. But when a foreign film or an alien film or a pirated film is going to be screened somewhere, Media Council doesn't give a damn. And you see, is it selective to the local producers that the local producers are not supposed to premiere film without classification measures, and then a foreign film, which is pirated, by the way, not gotten in the right channels, screening somewhere, and it is okay. So Parliament should check this, because Media Council is supposed to give you a report every year, I think, every year, with the minister presenting it. Will ask you to ask the Minister of Information whether Media Council has ever made a report about film classification. What is it doing? And the Culture Department has to have a representative on the classification board. Does someone responsible for culture, for children, sitting on the classification secretariat? Because they're just assuming to do that and eating maybe government money for not doing something that. So they need to be checked, and Parliament should help us do that. So that is the risk I was talking about. Maybe I would not do a next premiere, but we need to. Parliament has to see this, and the issue I talked about. We have local cinemas. We have local cinemas. Before you look at the televisions, these obscene, these movies that have obscene content reach the homes when we are away, or when you are away, with these we call them video distributors. The video halls, there are those video halls where children sneak from, they are supposed to be in school, but they sneak in video halls and watch these unregulated video operations.
We call them media hawkers.
Yes, they are those media hawkers, but they are those video halls where you see UCC not regulating them, and they are supposed to, and we are putting this to you, to the Parliamentary Forum, to check them. They are supposed to give licenses to those operating video halls, the local cinemas. They are not doing it. So the children sneak to those video halls and watch uncensored or unclassified movies. So
Honorable,
before you look at
let me interrupt you because of time. Honorable Mahua, what would you be your response to what I just said?
Moderator, On what you said about you talked of the years, and when you surely the years of our children are defiled, because when you move around, you see children with things in their ears everywhere. Biri, order what or which. I don't have those gadgets, but I see them with young people. We don't have control over some of these songs which our children listen to. You talked of Okwepich and many others. For heaven's sake, we need to do something. But when you talk of our ears or the ears of children, it is terrible. But it is still comes back to us. How we can control and regulate, I want to believe and agree that the implementation, Uganda has many good policies at times, but the implementers. It's very unfortunate that UCC is not here, but they would have been here so that the whole social will have some of the challenges, because in most cases, these are the regulators. But some of the content which goes around, it's like they don't care. But I want to give you an assurance that the Forum for Children, together with the Forum for Creative Industry, this is a good call for us to swing into action so that we can engage some of these actors, some of these regulators. We should all accept that somewhere, somehow, government is sleeping on job, or the regulators are sleeping on job. But it is our duty to awaken them. Me, I'm just happy that at least for creative industry, this forum is new. It has not been there for many. At least Forum for Children have been in existence. But this creative industry, it is a new platform, and we are going to utilize it to bring it together with the different fora concerned about the issues of children, and not only children, maybe youth and the rest, so that we can together see how do we engage the responsible implementers to do what is required, or else we may be running out of, the situation may be worsening. We need to curb it before it worsens.
Thank you very much. Honorable Owen, did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. And you see, we have creatives in here. And I'm one person who loves being self-responsible. Let me put it that way. And I understand the dynamics of the industry, that at times what you're doing is for the adults and all that. But how about if we also, and for Ugandans, I know this for sure, that we love to hear things when noise has been made, that in the creatives as ourselves, like the musicians here, the content creators, now everyone is a content creator with TikTok and wherever, that we also put in the idea of where we become self-responsible, that at the end of the day, even if I'm not a parent today, tomorrow I will be a victim of this. And like nature has it, it always catches up with you. Until it has happened to you, you can't know the impact. So I'm also thinking, much as the government and the parliament and the UCC will do their role, maybe to regulate, for example, the radios, which are talking about the safe ears, is that also us who are in content creating or the creative industry, can we take a step to also be conscious that, for example, how I know I gave an argument, I talked to one of the guys and said, but you people are forcing us to do age-appropriate content, but it doesn't sell. Now, what happens when we don't do a balance between money and conscience and morality? I want to understand, how did Afrigo Band, how is it possible that Afrigo Band has sold over the years, and up to today they call for an event and the entire hall, they can fill up this place and people sing? Did they have to make sure that all they do is immoral and all they do is dress half naked and be on screens? I told you about the shift from play-based childhood to screen-based. But one of the reasons which are not said is that parents became unsafe with their children to the society, where kids were raised up by society. But to me, what I look into that, when Jonathan Haidt talked about it, I looked at insecurity caused by moral decay. That from playing with the rest of the kids in the community, we got to making sure kids, we provide them with everything they can play with, and the screens and the phones. But the reasons we are being unsafe with the phone is because it's moral decay. And the question is, if we assess the contribution of media, audiovisual, to moral decay, then we'll understand that actually we don't even need these wall fences we have in our own homes. And the trend is going that direction. So, if I have a honorable here, I would say there is also a possibility we can move a private member's bill. And we work with stakeholders and say, what exactly do we need for our future kids? We have media players like us, Family TV. We have content creators and renowned Honorable Afrigo. We have organizations of interest like UNICEF. How do we team up and say, let's take this as an urgent matter? Out of this symposium, not put backs to ourselves, but say how can we call each other and put practical ways. And one of the things that I can just throw in, moderator, is there's in the master plan of the Safe Screen, Safe Kids by Church of Uganda Family TV, we had something called, we have something called the Safe Screen Guide. And to me it goes to the literacy. The truth is, we have people in Parliament discussing things they don't know. We have people in UCC perhaps controlling issues they don't know. And it all goes back to us having the right knowledge and knowing with what we are dealing with. So even when you're talking about the ears and the eyes, it all goes back to, are we knowledgeable about the issue at hand enough? And it starts with us equipping ourselves with right knowledge and understanding of what lies ahead of us.
Thank you very much. Oleoch.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm going to begin with stating that for those that have been in the drill of getting certified by Media Council, I noticed something last year, that the certificate given to approve a theatre play is actually a film certificate. It is not a theatre certificate. And that is one of the reasons as to why at the beginning I asked, do these people know what they are regulating? And then coming to the question that you asked us to tackle, I will borrow, and responding partly to the precurrent speaker, I would like to quote a statement a statement from a play called Man to Man by Dr. Charles Molekwa, where there is a line that says, we do not eat ethics. So I think I totally relate with people being after the money and not caring about the ethics. At the end of the day, they are thinking about what is bringing money to my table and how am I eating the bread. Now, in regard to words, I think that the words from the music that we listen to, the words from the films that we watch, the words from the TikTok influencers, or the content, it comes from the basics of the alphabets, A to Z. And we are not going to say, if we said right now that we should regulate how we speak to our children and the words we use when addressing our children, it is an injustice, because the way we adults also address ourselves is at times inappropriate. And sometime back I was thinking, and I said, there's a generation of children going to come and they are going to think we were in a horror movie when we went through COVID. that is evidence that generations are growing so fast. And while we think it was a pandemic, for them they are thinking, wait, you guys could not think of technological ways of working around this. Yeah? So the generation that has started or that is coming is a really smart generation. Is a generation that is going to hear a word you say. You may think they are just hearing, but they are actually listening. They are going to take time and sit down and think about a word that you said. And for those that are curious enough, they will come and ask you. That's if God has mercy and has given you a child that is free to ask you these questions. And then the other day you're going to hear them saying it to another person. So I think the responsibility, yes, the stakeholders have to do something, but let us start with us. How do we conduct ourselves in the environments we come from? What words do we say? For the time I have lived in the central region of Uganda, I have understood that Luganda is a rich language and it has different dialects. And there's a dialect that can give you information straight to the point, and there's one that is going to need you to sit down and take time and comprehend. So maybe we should also look at the dialects that we use when we are addressing some of these issues. Maybe it could be an action point that we can start with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, time is not our friend as usual, but I'm going to ask Mr. Mohamed Neil to give us an overview and a summary, a concluding remark on this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think the point about what creates money or gives money, and every industry and these days is about making money, is very important. And I would like to take ourselves back to the very basic principle of economics, supply and demand. If there is demand for inappropriate content, for entertainment, for education, those who are in the industry of producing the content will go for the inappropriate because it will give them the money. But there is very clear demand for appropriate content. They will be forced to provide us, to supply us with what we want, what we are willing to pay for. The point I want to make here is that we as responsible parents, as responsible citizens, need to put our demand very clear to the people who are in these industries. I will buy your product if it's appropriate in terms of content, whether it is language, whether it is body, images, when it is safe for my children, or when it is appropriate from my cultural, religious point of view. But as long as the demand is otherwise, these people will not stop. What I would suggest also, to move forward, we have now the Forum for Creative Industries, the Forum for Children, and other relevant forums. I would suggest we move forward and we speak to the industries, including the singers, the comedians. We want you to stand for our values. We want you to produce what is appropriate for our society and for our children. And we will give you a good rating and even, let us say, a brand mark, like a SAFE, an S. Every singer, every comedian, every TV channel, whatever, if they are producing something safe, appropriate, culturally, age-wise, we give them that brand and we all go for their products. So they know what we want from them and what we are willing to pay for them. And when we see inappropriate content coming from any individuals or companies in this industry, we raise our voice, we give them bad rating, and we make a phone call and say, what you are doing is damaging to my children, to my society, to my values, so that they hear from us that there is no market for their products. And I think we need to move from being on the defensive side to being on the offensive for our morals, for our values, for our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can't help but stand up and say thank you very much. That was indeed a very good closing remark. I want to thank the panelists for sharing their experiences, views, and knowledge. It's unfortunate we did not have time to give them questions because we started late due to rain. And now I'll request you to take leave of the Majitan podium. And I'm now going to introduce, to ask you to clap for them. Great. Now I'm going to invite the British Council to come and take us through culture and the creative economy. I think that's a matter that all of us are eager to learn from. So please, would you like to, is it a presentation? Is it, it's a panel. Please, panelists, come.
Thank you. Just before the panel comes, I would just like to say a few words. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chilufia Besa. I'm Country Director at the British Council. The theme for this second National Symposium is our culture, our pride, our responsibility, changing the narrative. Yesterday and today we've had some really interesting discussions in the room. Yesterday we started by talking about identity. We talked about the role of digital and AI in the creative industries. We also had a really exciting presentation from the Institute of Architecture and how they took us through the journey of how actually architecture is part of the art industry, it's part of the creative industry. And this morning we've had a very spirited discussion on safety, digital safety, safe screens, safe ears. And it's a really important discussion, and it puts into perspective the importance of safety in the creative industry, and how as people, as creatives, we have a really strong responsibility to ensure that we put out safe content. But I do believe, if I were to play devil's advocate here, that we need to create the right balance between protection and creativity. We do need laws that will add value and not just laws for the sake of legislation. Unfortunately, at the moment, the laws that we have are not working for the industry. I often speak to creatives, like the filmmakers, for example, and one of the major complaints that I have is the fees that are charged for screening movies. That stifles creativity, because we have creatives who are working on very low budgets, and yet for them to put out the content, for it to go to a cinema, they have to pay an additional fee, which really hinders creativity. Which is why I'm delighted that Honorable Rachel Magola is working on a draft national cultural policy. I do believe that this policy will be a game changer once it goes through the appropriate consultations, because we need something, we need policy and we need laws that support the industry, not ones that are going to hold back the creativity and the abundance that is in Uganda. Now, for our session, the British Council, we were asked to talk about culture and the creative economy. We know from research that the culture and creative industries has the potential to improve livelihoods. But often there is a lack of understanding from a lot of people, from the government, the regulators, about really what is culture, what is the creative economy. So we were asked to tackle this, this important subject. Now, I did not feel that I was sufficiently qualified to talk about culture or the creative economy. So I'm going to introduce to you people who are better qualified than I am. Our moderator for this panel is Joseph Obire, the creative director at KQ Hub, and he's going to introduce the panel to lead us into this discussion. Joseph.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Wabire Joseph Ian, and I'm the creative director at KQ Hub Africa. I think, we are talking about the creative industries and the creative economy, and now that Ugapo Fosi is leading the way for a new policy for the creative industry in Uganda, it is important that we reflect on it, and we are privileged, the British Council in partnership with the Uganda Parliamentary Forum for the Creative Industries, privileged to put together a panel with experts from the creative industries. So I'll be inviting each and everyone that is on this panel to speak more to their work and their role in promoting new policies for the creative industries. I'll start with CK Japeth from the Innovation Village and Motive. Can we give a thunderous hand clap for them as they come? Yes, CK will also speak more to the work he and the team is doing at Motive and the Innovation Village. And then I'll have Aweko Faith, social entrepreneur, but also an artist and designer. Welcome to the panel. And then I'd like to invite Barbara Babetere from the Cross Cultural Foundation, working in heritage and the cultural industries. Can we give her a thunderous hand clap? And then I'd like to invite Kasada Nelson from the Stanbic Bank Incubation Center to join us as well. All right, thank you very much for all joining. So I think one of the most important things these past 2 days has been a reflection on what the creative industries or the creative economy looks like. But we haven't gotten very keen insights from people who are actually doing the work. And I think the British Council's interest is seeing how we can contribute to a robust creative industry policy that reflects the opinions and ideas of the people who are working in this space. I'm just going to give each and everyone on my panel to say what they do and who they are before we can delve into the questions. I'll start with Nelson from the other side to this side. Thanks.
Thank you, Joseph. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nelson Kasada. I work with the Stanbic Business Incubator, which is a subsidiary of Stanbic Holdings Uganda Limited. And I am the manager of programs in the Stanbic Business Incubator. I would say that at the Stanbic Business Incubator, our role is simple. We teach people to do business the right way.
Okay, just to follow up, are you hearing? Or does he need to project his voice? You need to project your voice.
You hear me? Okay. I could bring this closer. Is that any better? Okay. So I was saying that we teach people, entrepreneurs, to do business the right way. That's the first thing. The second one is to get talented people, enable them to pursue their passion and make money out of it. The third one is really to identify businesses that have innovative business models. I think everyone knows that, every one of you knows that what it drives every economy in the world is something that we call small and medium enterprises. Every economy in the world, no matter its size. So how can we identify and support these businesses to scale, grow, create jobs, and drive our economy? I would summarize.
All right, thank you very much. Barbara?
Thank you very much, Joseph. My name is Barbara Babwetera Mutambi, and I am the Executive Director with the Cross-Cultural Foundation of Uganda, whose mission is to promote an appreciation of culture as vital for human development that responds to our diverse identity. And in our programs, we do a lot around promoting the safeguarding of Uganda's heritage, both tangible, intangible, beautiful, natural, mention it. We also promote cultural rights in Uganda through capacity building, advocacy, promoting entrepreneurship, promoting human rights, but based from the cultural perspective, etc. And finally, we also promote social cohesion and peaceful coexistence. And specifically under this, we would look at our role in promoting cultural entrepreneurship using various means through museums, handicraft, but especially we focus on indigenous ethnic minority communities as a way or means of them expressing themselves and to ensure that the risk of extinction is addressed using the creatives. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Ian. My name is Faith Aweko. I am a wastepreneur. I recycle plastics. I run a social enterprise called Reform Africa. We do upcycle plastic polythene waste bags, the caveras, into sustainable bags and accessories. We also run climate change sessions in schools, mostly primary schools, where we train kids on how to sort waste, but also giving them the background of plastic pollution in Uganda. And they also get a chance to recycle the polythene bags that are collected in the schools or from their household into sustainable bags and accessories. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, that's more like it. My name is Sika Japheth. I am an accidental entrepreneur, meaning I didn't set out to do a lot of the things I'm doing, but circumstances led us to where we currently are, and we are building Innovation Village, which is a technology-driven incubator, and the focus is on providing the acceleration, capital, expertise, and partnerships that entrepreneur needs. We did that for about 4 years, and we saw a lot of growth and partnerships with entrepreneurs. But then, of course, we quickly came to the realization that the biggest percentage of any African country is mostly creative and cultural and cottage entrepreneurs. And whereas we have so many tech entrepreneurs and so many incubators that are looking at technology, we didn't see the same effort around creative hubs and platforms. So we ended up building Motive for the creative and cultural economies, and I'm looking forward to this conversation and learning more. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think you can see that we have a very amazing panel. So with the interest of time, I just hope that we can respond to the questions quicker. But I think also I just wanted to reflect. So last year, the British Council commissioned a mapping of the creative industries. And that research report will be out very soon. And I think other development partners, but also local organizations, are thinking about looking into the different ways they can map, understand the creative industries. But I just wanted to ask my panelists, do you think, or how can we ensure that this research actually is communicated to the leaders or the people that actually are pushing for policy in the various places where they occupy. I understand that this forum is being organized by the Uganda Parliamentary Forum. These are people in the highest capacity to push for new creative policies that work for the creative industries. But we are doing research every day. How can we communicate this research so these people can understand how we, the filmmakers, how we, the visual artists, how we, the content creators, are thinking, and which kind of policies we want to be reflected? I'll start with you, CK.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very important question because it determines how we can get that shift from the research or the talking to the actual doing. But before I share what I think, I'd just like to take a moment to recognize the entrepreneurs in the room, because the ones who wake up every morning trying to build a company in the difficult environment and circumstances. For me, you're the real heroes because, like I said, accidentally